Some people just can't handle seeing others thrive, especially when that success rolls up in a sleek, obsidian black Lamborghini Aventador, its V12 engine humming a tune that could make anyone's heart race. I'd worked tirelessly to earn that car, a symbol of years spent building a network of car dealerships through grit, calculated risks, and a love for automotive artistry. But in my quiet, upscale neighborhood, that Lambo wasn't just a car, it was a lightning rod for envy, particularly for a woman named Deborah, the self-appointed queen of our homeowners association. Deborah wasn't your average busybody. She was a force, her presence as commanding as her voice, her permed hair a crown of authority. And she decided my car, my hard-earned masterpiece, was a personal insult to her reign. It started subtly, as these things often do. A snide remark at a neighborhood barbecue about flashy displays, her eyes boring into my parked Aventador. Then a note tucked under my wiper, nitpicking about parking lines despite my car being perfectly aligned. I brushed it off as typical HOA nonsense, the kind you tolerate with a smile. But Deborah wasn't playing small. She was the HOA president, a title she wielded like a scepter, her husband, Mark, trailing her like a loyal squire. Mark was obsessed with his aging, base-model Corvette, polishing it with a devotion that bordered on worship, all while nodding along to Deborah's decrees. Their dynamic was almost comical, his modest sports car paling next to the very thing his wife despised in my driveway. My Aventador wasn't just a car, it was a milestone, a testament to years of navigating the cutthroat world of automotive sales and financing. Our neighborhood was affluent but understated BMWs, the occasional Porsche, nothing that screamed for attention like my Lambo. For months, it drew admiring glances and curious questions from neighbors. Then Deborah's campaign began. She was a larger-than-life figure, her voice booming, her self-importance towering. Her glares could sour milk, and her rules seemed to materialize from thin air. Whispers among neighbors hinted at her aggressive fines and invented regulations, but I'd stayed above the fray. My business managing dealerships, securing high-stakes financing made HOA drama feel trivial. That is, until Deborah's jealousy ignited. Her first moves were petty, complaints about my engine's noise, though I always coasted through the neighborhood at low RPMs, quieter than Mark's rumbling Corvette. The hypocrisy was galling. Then came an emergency HOA newsletter, a shoddy photocopy slipped under every door. Buried among lawn care reminders was a new rule banning non-conforming vehicles, vague, spiteful language about cars too powerful, too exotic, too disruptive to the community's aesthetic. It was a rule tailor-made for my Aventador, with no clear criteria, just Deborah's vendetta in ink. I called the HOA's management company, but the overworked assistant could only mumble about Deborah's strong recommendation. Meeting minutes? Unavailable. My blood boiled. I confronted Deborah as she tended her unnaturally green lawn. Can you clarify this non-conforming vehicle rule? I asked, keeping my tone civil. Her smile was pure venom. It's about maintaining elegance, Mr. Carter, she purred, glancing at my garage. Some cars just don't belong. I pressed her. What about Mark's Corvette? That's a sports car. Her smile tightened. It's a classic, American heritage. Your foreign toy is just tacky. The audacity was staggering. A mass-produced Chevy was heritage, but my Italian masterpiece was tacky? This wasn't about aesthetics. It was about her. Mark tried his own intimidation, cornering me by the mailboxes. That car of yours, he grumbled. It's making people uncomfortable. I leaned in, smirking. Who, Mark? Because neighbors tell me they love it. Or is it just Deborah, feeling outshined? His face reddened, but he sputtered about community standards. It was laughably Lamborghini lowering the tone? I decided to dig deeper. Requesting HOA financials was like pulling teeth, redacted, vague, with suspicious vendor payments and bloated expenses. Something stank. Meanwhile, orange warning stickers appeared on my windshield, citing the new rule. I peeled them off, documenting each one, refusing to be bullied. Deborah's obsession grew manic. She'd lurk at her window, glaring as my engine purred. It wasn't about the car Anna Maria, it was about control, her authority challenged by my refusal to bow. The breaking point came on a perfect spring afternoon. I just pulled into my driveway, the Aventador gleaming under the sun, when I heard frantic footsteps. Deborah charged toward me, her face a crimson mask of rage. I've had enough of this thing, she shrieked. Before I could react, she launched herself onto my hood with shocking force, her weight crunching the carbon fiber. She actually bounced, screaming, "No supercars means no supercars. You think you're above the rules." I threw open the door, fury surging. "Deborah, get off my car. Are you insane?" She scrambled down, leaving cracks, dents, and scratches, panting with a twisted look of triumph. "Maybe now you'll listen," she spat. Mark scurried over, predictably defending her. "What's going on?" he blustered. Deborah wailed. "He keeps flaunting this monstrosity." I was already on the phone with the police, voice tight. "I need to report vandalism. My neighbor just damaged my vehicle." Neighbors gathered, shock etched on their faces. Deborah ranted to the officers about HOA rules, proudly admitting her stunt. They were unimpressed, documenting the damage and warning her of vandalism charges. Her stunned silence as they handed her a report was almost worth the repair bill. Almost. As the tow truck hauled my wounded Aventador to a specialist shop, a cold resolve settled in. This wasn't just about a care, it was war. Deborah had crossed a line, and I'd use every tool at my disposal to make her pay. Repair quotes were astronomical. Carbon fiber isn't cheap, but I could absorb it. What I couldn't stomach was her entitlement. My lawyer filed a civil suit for damages, citing her premeditated malice. But I sensed a bigger opportunity. Deborah and Mark's lifestyle, her designer outfits, his Corvette, their tacky mansion did add up. Where was the money coming from? Owning a dealership network gave me insight into auto financing, and a hunch led me to check if Deborah, Mark, or their HOA cronies were clients. My finance manager, Lisa, struck gold. Mark was 2 months behind on his Corvette loan, financed through our subprime lender. Deborah had co-signed a delinquent SUV loan for the HOA treasurer, Susan, another of her loyalists. 2 more board members, vocal Deborah supporters, were also defaulting, one on a luxury sedan, the other a pickup truck. It was a house of cards, all tied to my company, crumbling under their reckless spending. The HOA's murky financials now looked sinister: vague consulting fees, exorbitant landscaping costs for Deborah's lawn, special projects that never materialized. It reeked of embezzlement. HOA funds likely funneled to prop up their lifestyles, including those car loans. My lawyer saw the bigger picture, not just vandalism, but a pattern of abuse. The plan was two-pronged: sue Deborah for the car and repossess every defaulted vehicle. It wasn't vengeance, it was justice. They didn't pay. They lost the cars. Simple. Brutal. The repossessions were a masterstroke, timed for maximum impact. Mark's Corvette was hooked from his driveway, leaving him gaping at an oil stain. Deborah and Susan tried to block the SUV repo, screaming about harassment. The agent, unfazed, flashed legal papers, warning of police involvement. Their rage fizzled into horror as they saw my company's letterhead. The sedan and pickup followed, each repo a public spectacle. The neighborhood buzzed. Deborah's clique, once untouchable, was carless, their status symbols towed away. The lawsuit progressed, bolstered by witness statements, police reports, and security footage showing Deborah's tirade. Serving her was a CNME lawyer described her snatching the papers, face purple with rage. The repossessions hit harder, shattering their image. Neighbors whispered, then spoke openly, about Deborah's arbitrary fines and opaque finances. I compiled a factual summary of the defaults and HOA irregularities, requesting an emergency meeting. Backed by emboldened residents, it was approved. The meeting was electric. Deborah and her allies looked hunted, their smugness gone. I presented the defaults alongside questionable HOA spending, avoiding direct accusations but highlighting damning patterns. Susan's weak defense crumbled under residents' questions. A retired accountant demanded an audit, and the motion passed overwhelmingly despite Deborah's protests. The audit exposed a cesspool, misappropriated funds, phantom vendors, HOA money used for personal expenses, including car down payments. Deborah, Mark, Susan, and others were implicated, forced to resign in disgrace. Some faced legal action to recover stolen funds. Deborah and Mark listed their house, drowning in legal fees and my lawsuit, which they were losing. The no supercar rule was scrapped. My Aventador returned, its hood pristine, a gleaming symbol of victory. I drove it slowly through the neighborhood, greeted by friendly waves, not fear. Deborah's reign ended, not with a whimper, but with the roar of my V12 and the clank of tow trucks. Her envy-fueled tantrum handed me the tools to dismantle her empire. The satisfaction of exposing their hypocrisy, of watching their facade collapse, outshone any scratch. Sometimes, the best way to crush a bully is to legally, methodically tear down their throne, and believe me, that thrill lasts.